The creative space for roller coasters is constantly evolving. From excessive positive Gs to breaking records to airtime machines to who knows what's next, we can make a whole video on the trends of coasters for the past 100 years, but I'll save that for another time. Today's video, I am here really to talk about a particular trend that I am noticing in the near future, the dominance of launch coasters. I don't want to spoil too much of what I'm going to talk about, but I truly believe launch coasters are the future of this industry. Okay, so let's first dive into the history of launch coasters a little so we have some background for this video. The first launch coaster was built by Aerodynamics and it was called Demon at Kings Island. This used an electrical winch to launch trains. This was revolutionary at the time. No one had ever seen anything like it until Demon came along, albeit the launch was not that strong. Basically, an electric motor created a tensional spring force to propel the train forward. Once it got over the hill, it dropped and used gravity to navigate the loop. So the launch itself was not the driving force behind the coaster, it was mainly gravity. This model was an interesting concept that is now really outdated. There are only 3 left operating in the world, and I can't say they are great rides. In 1996, we got 2 game-changing launch coasters that were introduced to the world. Premier Rides built the Flight of Fear clones at Kings Island and Kings Dominion, and both of them opened on the same date. These coasters were revolutionary at the time and drove us into modern launch coaster technology. It was the introduction of magnetic launches with LIMs, and with the successful first showing, magnetic launches blew up in popularity. Intamin took Premier Ride's LIMs and created a more precise and reliable version called LSMs. With this new launch technology, they created some of the best coasters in the world with them. They built the world's first Giga with it only a year later in Tower of Terror 2, and they built Volcano the Blast Coaster, which was the first launched inverted coaster, and that opened up 1 year after Tower of Terror. It's kind of amazing how fast Intamin picked up this technology and improved on it, but bravo to them, they are one of the most innovative manufacturers out there and still are. LSMs have only become more reliable and better across the years, and today it is the most reliable launch technology out there. It isn't the craziest powerful thing, but it is controllable and getting better with every new addition. More on this later. In 2001 and 2002, we got introduced to the 2 other prevalent launch technologies out there. The first came with Hypersonic XLC at Kings Dominion. It kind of amazes me how much new and upcoming stuff Kings Dominion got. They built 3 revolutionary launch coasters in a pretty small time span, and this number does not even include King Cobra, which has a weight drop launch on a Schwarzkopf shuttle loop. We aren't going to get into more niche launch coaster history right now. This can be a whole nother video in of itself. So Kings Dominion obviously saw launches as the future of coasters, or they just saw it as super gimmicky and was trying to stand out, but either way, it shows the rapid and immediate success they had upon opening. However, Hypersonic XLC wasn't exactly an immediate success. It was plagued with issues and downtime, and ultimately the coaster closed after a short 6 years. S&S has done a lot of work with the compressed air launch and has refined it to a very satisfactory point right now, but it had a lot of problems, and that is not even talking about Dodonpa and Ring Racer. The other launch that was introduced in 2002 is the Intamin Accelerator. This made its debut with Accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm and had a much better start than the pneumatic launch coasters did. Accelerator was wildly popular and still very much is. The Intamin accelerators were semi-reliable. It was good enough to get built all over the world, but it has not exactly stood the test of time. Top Thrill Dragster was the most recent L. Accelerator has extended downtime recently, and overall they are just operational nightmares. Yet they were popular and helped evolve the launch technology scene. These 2 launches, the compressed air launch and the Accelerator, are both examples of high power launches. The launches are responsible for the fastest accelerations on the planet, and I believe the first LSM to appear on that ranking is Atlantis Adventure at Lotte World, though I am too lazy to bust out my kinematics knowledge to actually find the correct answer. So this kind of brings us to modern day launches with those 3 technologies that we talked about. Now let's answer the question of what makes a launch coaster so good. Well, to sum it up very quickly, the word of the day is versatility, and it is versatile in more than one way. First off, let's talk about versatility with layout. Launch coasters can be big, they could be small, they could be tall, they could be short, they could be spread out, and no, not like that, and they can be compact. It can really fit anywhere. That is the beauty of it. You can look at things like Manta. That is a family coaster that does not go any higher than 30 feet and is dug out into trenches. Then you have a behemoth like Falcon's Flight, which uses LSM technology to build the tallest, fastest, and longest coaster in the world. That is a wide spectrum of launch technology right there, and all the gaps are filled in between. When launch coasters were first built, they were only for the biggest and baddest coasters, but now we see more and more of that technology applied to a smaller scale family coasters, and it works so well. Like look at Big Bear Mountain and Penguin Trek. Both of them, these are great examples of launch coasters in a smaller, more tame layout. Now here is my favorite thing about launch coasters, theming. Now most parks don't do a whole lot of theming, but launch coasters are so much easier to theme. If you think about it, in order to theme a launch coaster, well, you don't need to enclose a 100-foot lift hill, you could just enclose a tunnel and turn it into something crazy. I can name numerous examples of well-themed launch coasters. Of course, Velocicoaster comes to mind, that is the textbook launch coaster, but there's others out there like the brand new Voltron or Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Even something like Arctic Rescue at my home park is themed well enough, and Penguin Trek looks to be following that trend. Launch coasters also have the ability to be incredibly compact, which allows you to do virtually anything you want with the layout. You don't need to clear a big space for a lift hill, you could just launch to the speed you need to and tuck the layout around the launch. It works really well. This is why launch coasters are able to create such a high amount of thrill in indoor spaces. It is really cool to see, so it definitely wins in this category. And when you look at the big names like Disney and Universal, all their large-scale coasters are almost exclusively launch coasters. Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure boasts a record-breaking 7 LSM launches, Cosmic Rewind is one of the best family coasters out there, Tron uses launch technology, Fast and Furious Hollywood Drift is the next Velocicoaster, which by the way is already a near-perfect launch coaster, and even Harry Potter and Escape from Gringotts has a launch in it. Now if you want to look at older coasters that use launches, we have like Hulk and Incredicoaster and Hyperspace Mountain and Battlestar Galactica. The latter of these two have launched lift hills, which I think also can be something of the future. We already have a good handful of coasters that have implemented these types of launches, and as long as they are reliable, it is a more efficient chain lift that offers slightly more thrill. I could see LSM lift hills becoming more popular, especially with a huge coaster like Falcon's Flight showing it can work, so that can be another reason we see more launches in the future. Another thing to note is that with Pipeline, B&M has been experimenting with LSMs, and I think that could become a big player in the future as well. Now, LSMs are not the only type of launch coasters. LIMs are kind of fading out, but they got used in Big Bear Mountain, so maybe there is a future for them. The other two launches I really want to talk about are the power-driven ones, the Accelerator and the pneumatic launches. Like I said, the Accelerator is fading out. I don't think we will see much more of them be built. It is also really interesting to see Sanfasiato being given LSM launches and reopening as Thunderbolt. It makes sense though because LSMs are infinitely more reliable than hydraulic launches. Top Thrill 2 is also proof of that, though it is having problems with LSMs, so I'm not too hopeful for Thunderbolt as well. It is Zamperla at the end of the day.
Now I want a candy bar!
On the other hand, pneumatic launches look to be the power launch of the future. S&S has really been struggling with this model, but I think they are getting better at it with every new edition. Like, Max Force hasn't been that bad, right? I think this is the model of the future for huge impact launches, but only time will really tell. The last advantage that I think launch coasters really have is speed. You can program a launch to vary speed. You can make it so it doesn't obliterate riders over a top hat, and maybe if it's a windy day, you could still get it over a top hat. That is the cool thing about launch technology. It is configurable, and if you go too fast, you can install some trims to slow it down. Launches can be used in really any way now. The new thing is swing launches, like look how popular that is. So the technology is also evolving, and it will only get better and better and better. Now here is where I think launch technology will never break ground, with wood coasters. First of all, the wood coaster is dying whether you like it or not. It is being replaced by Titan Track, RMC Retrack, and iBox. But for the few wood coasters that are going to be built, I can guarantee you none of them will have launches. Lightning Rod was a masterclass in showing the world that launches and wood do not mix together. And if you are going to build a classic wood coaster, adding a launch is just going to ruin that feel. I think launches will mix with hybrid coasters more, but not with the traditional woody. So yeah. The one thing that I am really curious to see is if RMC figures out launches. They are one of the top manufacturers of our time, and they haven't really done much since debuting their Raptor. We know launch technology has been mixed with single rail before because we have seen it in Big Dipper, so that is something I'm really curious about. The other thing is adding it to iBox. I feel like a launch iBox layout is entirely plausible, and knowing RMC they will do it one day, that is yet another way that launches can expand into the future. So those are all the reasons why I think launch coasters are going to take over, but how likely is it that they actually do? Well, I'd say that they're going to be just as common as lift hill coasters in the future. You could do so much with launch coasters that you can't do with traditional lift hills, and the layout can be whatever you want. Launch coasters just take up less room and they are getting better with every new edition. I mean, who is complaining about launch coasters though? They are great. The Intamin Blitz, Mach Extreme Spinners, Mach Big Dippers, S&S Air Launches, B&M Surfs, Gerstlauer Eurofighters, Mach Multi-Launches, Vekoma Multi-Launches, and the crazy family coasters. Some of the best models in the world are using launch technology and are fully using it to the best of their ability. I'm looking forward to what the future has in store for us. It is really a fun time to be a coaster enthusiast right now. And that's all for today's video, guys. As always, make sure to like and subscribe to the Discord link in the description. Let me know if you agree with my decisions in the comment section down below. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.